I'll start with the drawing of the Ojai Meadow Pond with the egret beginning to fly. And I'm going to look at where the horizon line is. It's a little bit above the center. So I'm just going to lightly draw that in first. Let me check if I put the lamp on, if you can see better. Maybe a little. And the Topa Topa is back here. Looks like I don't have as much sky here, so let me adjust that. Very roughly sketching in the trees, the mountains. I think I made the wing a little bit too deep there. And then as far as the grasses and the dark, I'm just going to sketch in the darker shapes so I have some idea of where those would be. Okay, to start with, let's see here. I think of course, I'll start with the sky. And I usually start with a cobalt blue. Notice that the water is much darker than the sky and more intense in color, and it helps to advance it and give it a lot of drama. I like to make the sky a little more interesting by, it's got some clouds, but I like to, emphasize a little bit more of that, a variety in the sky, not all just one even tone. Closer to the horizon, usually there's a little bit of a greener tone to the color of the sky. So I have a little manganese blue that I'm adding. And while it's still wet, I can come back in with just a little more cobalt in places. This helps to give it slightly more depth. And I might as well do a little bit of the water too at the same time. But I'm going to use some ultramarine blue. With that, and then I'll come back in with the cobalt as I get up here closer to the, whoops, I got to make sure I don't cover up where I want the reflection to be. And what's interesting about this, I already see that there is some green in the water closer to the distance, and so that makes sense. It's like that warmer greenish tone in the water back here in this area, further back. So a little more ultramarine. I want some softer grasses in the foreground here too, so I might put a little indication of some of the grasses while it's still wet. And so I'm coming in with some Prussian blue and some Hooker's green. And a little bit of burnt sienna.
Your egret looks fabulous.
Oh, good. The shape so far, huh?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with mine.
They're such beautiful birds. I'm dropping a little bit of sap green in here too. Just I want to have an interesting kind of a wet mixture in here. And now I'm coming in with a little bit of some burnt sienna for some warmth. I know I'm going really dark to begin with, but I just felt right. So I just wanted to get something in here. Now with some more of the ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And then some of the techniques that we saw in the video, you know, where you come back in and you sort of drag some of the paint out. Let's see, I guess I need a brush instead of a... Out of the wet paint, I'm coming back in now. I'm getting some softer grasses because I'm using a rigger while the paint that I put down is still wet, and just pulling out some of the color. Now I'm using the end of the brush. Okay. That bled in places a little more than I wanted, so I'm going to sop up some of it here. Now I'll come back in and do the painting of some of the mountains in the background, and because that's topa topa back there, I'm going to make it just a little bit kind of a pinkish tone. A little bit of kind of a lavender tone too back here. Okay, coming back in with some greens on top of this. But with a little bit of burnt sienna in it, so it will be a little muted, not quite so bright. Now I want to get some of the yellow ochres and some of the warmth into the foreground or the middle ground area. So this is a little bit of yellow ochre here. And it's not quite bright enough, so I'm going to use a little bit of a cad yellow in part of it while it's still wet. And maybe even a little bit of orange in places, cad orange. I don't know exactly what colors these are. Some of these that I have down here are kind of like an Indian red, I think. Could be using burnt sienna. And now some of my browns that or greens, sorry, greens that I had in here, kind of a toned down green that's got hooker's green and ultramarine. I'm adding a little bit of cad orange to my green, because these are autumn colors, so I'm going to get some of that warmer tone in here while it's still wet. and a little bit of burnt sienna. Being close to the shape of the egret's neck, but being careful about that. Now a little bit of the green mixture. I'm going to leave that white building out. It doesn't look quite right, unless I make it a different shape. I could make it,
Good.
yeah,
I'm glad.
different shape or something. I want to vary my yellows a little more, so I'm coming back into my yellow ochre over here. Okay, kind of a yellow green over here I see, so I'm going to add A little more of a yellow green to some of the vegetation over in here. Okay. I want to finish up some of these trees so I can move on to working with the bird and the grasses in the foreground. Okay, I need some browns to tie some of the bush areas together, so some ultramarine and yellow ochre. Now it's time to come in with some more of the grasses and darker tones in the distance. I'm switching to my rigger brush right now because I want to be able to control the strokes a little bit more. And this is ultramarine and hooker's green and a little bit of burnt sienna. We also have the reflection of the trees here, so this is where I'll probably need to wet some of the paper where it would be the water when I paint some of that, because I want it to look like a reflection. Still a little bit too wet, so I better wait just slightly longer. Okay, now I take my rigger and start to pull some of these darker tones out into where it's kind of damp. Okay, I need to start adding some darker darks in here. It keeps drawing lighter. I've got to really get darker here. I want to start painting some things in the bird, even though I know it's really too early. I'm tempted to, but I'm going to resist just slightly longer so I can get more of the grasses. So now I'm going into the foreground now that this grass is dry. I want to flip some of the, like he was doing with his, flip a few of these little pods, seed pods around here and there. Oh, Dennis says he lost his internet connection. Can you guys still see me or hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I can see you.
I'm fine.
Okay, Dennis just sent me a text. He lost his internet connection. Oh, I did. Oh, and also I just remembered there's still the voice thread to do. So let's see, how much longer do we have? We still have time, so I'm going to quickly throw in some more darks in the foreground and then do a little bit on the bird. We have some interesting background sounds going on. Okay, I realized I didn't put in some of these grasses over here.
Would the bird have a bit of a shadow
Yes, on the bird itself, yes,
or
definitely.
in the water?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to start to do, is add a little bit of that. So let me go ahead and start working on the bird. So I'm going to use sort of a bluish tone. I may come in with a little bit of violet also, but for now I'm going to focus on what I see as some of the shadow of the wings here. See if I can get it a little closer. I need to get darker with some of the shadow too to create the form. And I don't think I left quite enough white for the wings, so I'll come back in with a little bit of gouache. Let's see here. Do they have like a orange beak? Can't really see it on this picture.
Yeah, I believe the great egret has like a yellowish orange beak.
Oh,
Yeah,
not,
it has orange lines, Sylvia, but then it has like a black outline on the edges.
oh, okay, let me see if I can even see my picture. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm zooming it in and it looks like it's almost like an outline.
Okay, oh, I'm seeing it. Okay, at the point, there's a black on the tip of the beak.
Yeah, and it goes on the top.
Yeah, and there's also yellow around the eye.
Yes.
Of course, this is very small, but little things like that will help to make a difference.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to get darker behind the shape of the bird to make the bird stand out, but before I do that, I think I'll get my gouache and touch up a little bit. This is kind of an old tube of gouache, so let's hope it'll still work.
Looks good.
And then down here, I wanted to add a little bit more of this lower wing.
That really makes it pop.
Yeah. And I need to look at the shape of the wings too a little bit better. This is more of a curve at the top. It's funny how when you look at things and you start to compare, then all of a sudden you see how much darker the background has to be, right, to make it stand out. And so you need to come back and just try to strengthen some of the colors underneath it or beside it. And then you need to come back in, and if you want to make it look like there's a reflection under here, you have to approximate a shape, you know. Oh, it's not showing what I'm painting. I just noticed. That's really odd. It's not showing my brush.
There might be a delay.
I suppose that's kind of a strange thing because I'm painting away and I don't see it on the monitor.
I just saw your hand go by.
Yeah, but you can't. Oh, now you can see it.
Yeah,
Very,
probably just needed a minute to catch up.
maybe. It's way, way lighter on the picture. I don't think that the reflection is actually going to work out because it wouldn't have been correct anyway, but I need to make it look like there's something.
Just a bright spot seems to indicate.
That works.
It helps to kind of give it more depth because it, you know, the foreground I thought I had pretty dark before, but it's not. Well, I better stop and start the voice thread pretty soon. We don't have as many pieces in the voice thread this time, but we
There
have
are actually
a
quite
few.
a few.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and go to that then. All right, well, I'm anxious to see what you all do. Hopefully you'll be able to finish it up a little bit better than I have mine, but at least we got a start.
Yours is beautiful.
Hi, Sylvia. This is Dennis. I'm back.
Oh, good. We were wondering what happened.